I think that the incentives in bank regulation are so messed up, and so many people have an interest in having them messed up, that it's totally crazy. I mean, you'll have to have a punishment for the people that do the wrong thing. And if you take First Republic, for example, you do know that the directors are not going to be able to read some book or anything like that, but they do have the ability to hold the CEO accountable. The CEO gets the bank in trouble. Both the CEO and the directors should suffer. It teaches the lesson is that if you run a bank and you screw it up, you're still a rich guy, and the clubs don't drop you, and the charity groups don't quit asking you to their benefits, and the world goes on. That is not a good lesson to teach people who are holding the behavior of the economy in their hands. So I think there's some work to be done, but I don't think it's not a difficult problem. It's just we've screwed up the answer and we've screwed up the communication of it. Charlie?
Well, I'm so old-fashioned that I kind of liked it better when banks didn't do investment banking. That makes me very outmoded in the modern world.
And the country decided it was contrary to public interest for a while, and then the banks wanted to get back into it.
Did they ever?
Yeah. No, I mean,
I don't think having a bunch of bankers, all of whom are trying to get rich, leads to good things. But I think a banker should be more like an engineer. He's more like into avoiding trouble than he is getting rich.
Yeah, and they could do fine.
They can do fine that way. And I think we had a big mistake when we created a bank where everybody who joins it plans to get rich.
Yeah.
It's a contradiction in values.
And we came to that conclusion. I don't know when Glass-Steagall was passed or anything, but then they want to get back in. How many of you know, and maybe I'm wrong on this, I haven't looked lately, but the Federal Reserve actually was given the responsibility for setting margin requirements. And they changed margin requirements a lot of times because it was known that people that borrow a lot of money cause a danger to the banking system if you get too many in the picture and all of that sort of thing. And what's happened? The banks figured out 1,000 different ways to get so you could borrow on 100% margin, and different. I mean, through derivatives and everything, they just totally distorted all the lessons that were learned in the '29 crash.
Imagine taking banking into derivative trading. Who in his right mind would have allowed that?
Yeah. Well, there's more money in it.
Well, that's why they're in it.
Yeah.
But it isn't necessarily a great social outcome for the rest of us.
Well, that's what those Senate committees decided back in 1931 and 32, and then in the late 1990s, particularly. I mean, very decent people, but Bob Rubin and some of the people, they said, this is the modern world, and here's what the modern world has turned out to hand us. And banking can have all kinds of new inventions, but it needs to have old values. And
well, if
we don't know what's going to happen, because there are a lot of things that could happen out of the present situation. Depositors will not lose money. Stockholders and debt holders of the holding company and all that, they should lose money. And if people borrowed out on commercial real estate, and now it isn't, the loans aren't getting extended, they should leave. It's too bad. I mean, that's part of borrowing on 100% margin, which is what people have been doing in commercial real estate. You've got to have the penalties hit the people that cause the problems, and if they took risks that they shouldn't have, it needs to fall on them if you're going to change how people are going to behave in the future.